Hey guys, Sean here, and welcome to the qualifying watch-along for the 2026, don't say Spanish Grand Prix, Barcelona-Catalunya Grand Prix. A race weekend that has ruined all my thumbnails and graphics because the race name is too long. They just don't think about it. They're just so inconsiderate. How are we all doing this afternoon, morning, this evening, tonight, wherever you are in the world? I'll do some shout-outs in chat, so pop in and say hello, and I'll give you a shout-out and say hello to you too. Read some comments right off the bat. It's been an interesting weekend because it's a weekend so far that has been dominated by last weekend, which is curious but understandable given what's gone on. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little while. We'll talk a little bit about the ADUO. Although interesting, Natalie Pinkham's now calling it the ADUO. Are we doing that now? Because I ain't. It's the ADUO. We'll be going over that in a bit as well, talking about what we think of that. And of course, then getting ready for qualifying for the race tomorrow. Apparently, historically, a more important qualifying session than Monaco. So maybe we should be as excited for this one as we were last week. I'll tell you, if it's anything like last week's qualifying, we're in for an absolute treat. That is going to be fantastic. I'll do shout outs in just a moment. I'll quickly run through the order from FP3 this morning, although heads up, this is the only practice session I watched this weekend because I had some family stuff yesterday that came up, which was unfortunate. So let's put it that way. Let's not get into it though. We're here to forget about the real world for a couple of hours. So George Russell seems to be the Mercedes on form this weekend. He was fastest this morning on a 1:15.679, followed by Oscar Piastri a couple of tenths further back. Charles Leclerc was P3 in a Ferrari that looks a little bit better. They've got quite a few upgrades this weekend, and he seems happier at this stage, certainly than he was at the end of the Monaco Grand Prix. Let's not get into that one again. Lando Norris P4, Lewis Hamilton P5, Max Verstappen not overly happy. Probably the review of his season so far, to be fair. P6. Kimi Antonelli, only 7th, did miss, as did Lewis Hamilton and others, of course. The FP1 on Friday because of junior drivers standing in. Isack Hadjar, 8th, 9th for Hulkenberg, 10th for Lindblad, 11th for Bortoletto. So, Pascal, I've seen him in chat. Are you buying into the hype for Audi so far yet again? Oh, 9th and 11th got a shot of points and it all falls apart again. Bless you. Lawson, 12th, 13th for Gasly, 14th for Colapinto, 15th for Sainz, 16th Ocon, 17th Bearman, 18th Albon, 19th Perez, 20th Alonso, 21st Bottas and Lance Stroll, P22. Antonelli was investigated for erratic driving at turn 2, having brake tested is maybe harsh, but certainly backed up a bit to block Stroll off after he got in his way. He apologised to the stewards, admitted he did it deliberately in frustration, and he got a reprimand for that. So no further than that for Antonelli, just a reprimand. So those are your top 22 for FP3, if you care. But I've told you anyway. There you go. Let's say some hellos then. Who have we got in chat? Hater Ewan says Spain is one of the few races where both a 1-stop and a 2-stop can work. Interestingly, mate, we could be looking at 3 stops tomorrow. We'll be spoilt rotten for that one. Hater Annette, hope you're well again, Annette. Good to see you in chat. What time is it where I need to check? It's night. You're 9 hours ahead, aren't you? So you are getting on for midnight, 23:38. Love it. Dave, hater Luke says, hello everyone, who's ready for a Merc 1-2 and then to be 7 or 8 tenths ahead of third? It does have the feel of a classic Mercedes weekend. I'm not going to do the poem again, but we're all building up to McLaren are in the mix, Ferrari are in the mix. What can Verstappen do? And then Mercedes turn up and lock out the front row comfortably. So I see where you're coming from there. Hater King Gannon / Rocket Raccoon. Hater Pascal says, good afternoon, Sean and chat. I hope everyone's doing well. It is great to see Peter Sauber out the track with Audi. Is Peter Sauber there? Oh, that's lovely. I've not seen him for a while, actually. So, at a track at least, not personally. We don't regularly go for coffee or anything, but hopefully he's okay. Hater Fud says, I'm sorry to say, but this stream has been given a 5-second penalty for speeding in the countdown. Sounds about right. And that's everyone. I said everyone, hi to everyone in chat. So good to see you all this afternoon. I'll be coming to chat throughout. So nice and casual this afternoon. I don't want any stress, so just behave. You always do, but I'm just saying it. Not got a lot of patience. CPB. Hey, CPB says, your thoughts on the rumours that Fernando Alonso could be going back to Alpine to reunite with Flavio? I feel like this was inevitable and it would feel fitting for Alonso to retire at Enstone. I was going to come on to that, actually. Thank you for reminding me, CPB. There are 2 rumours doing the rounds about Fernando Alonso. There's always rumours about Fernando Alonso. One is that this is his last ever appearance in Barcelona, which means he must be retiring at the end of the year. And the other one that's come from Motorsport Italy is that he's off back to Alpine in a shock move to finish his career there. So it depends which one you want to believe. Now, firstly, is it? I'm going to have to Google this. I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to Google this. I should have checked. I meant to check it beforehand. It's 2027 next year, isn't it? Just need to check something. So, yeah, so Barcelona isn't on the calendar next season because it's going into rotation with Spa. So we've got Spa next year, thank God. And then we've got Barcelona the year after. So all the talk that Fernando Alonso said this could be his last trip to Barcelona and people are going, oh, he's retiring at the end of the year. He could retire at the end of next year. He could do another year before Barcelona appears on the calendar again. So I think that's a little bit of hyperbole from certain outlets. But the Alpine one's an interesting one. I agree. It would feel very fitting to go back to Enstone, finish his career there. It's a better car than the Aston Martin. I really hope that in 6 months' time, I'm meeting my words on this one. But I don't think Aston Martin are going to turn this around this season. I don't think they're going to be turning it around for next season. They may have to wait a couple of years. They may have to wait until the next regulation rules set. I hope they don't, because they might have to do some firing on that one, because that's not good news. But he'd be better off going to Alpine with that Mercedes engine and a car that, as we've seen this year, is better than the Aston Martin quite comprehensively, actually, at some races. So I think it would make sense for him if he wants to go and challenge for points and podiums and maybe even wins and titles again. But I still don't think leaving Alpine was the right thing to do. I said it in a live stream when the news was rumoured. I said that I didn't think it was the right thing to do. I think that's where he belonged at Enstone, and Flavio came back, and I think that would have made sense. But it's very, I don't know. I think he'd be silly to make the move now, I suppose you could argue. Let's wait and see what this Aston Martin 2.0 B-spec or whatever it is that's coming after the summer break is like, or reportedly could be after the summer break, and then maybe make the call from there. But I can't see the point in Fernando Alonso trying to spend 2 years getting Aston Martin up to speed and then retiring. So he may as well go somewhere, spend another season at Enstone, finish his career there, score lots of points, be happy, be much happier racing at the front, or sharp end at least, and then call it a day from there. I can't see Fernando, and again, I'd love to eat my words in again, 12 months-ish time, 18 months. I can't see him winning that third title. Mercedes are not going to pick him up. You know, McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, they're not going to be looking at him now because he's right towards the end of his career. They're going to want somebody more long-term, so it's unlikely he's going to win a title. But if you ask me today, who do I think is more likely to win a championship? Out of the two, Alpine or Aston Martin, it's Alpine, but even then, they're not going to win a championship for a while. So I hope that waffle made sense, CPB. If not, then I apologise, but I think you get the gist. I'd love to see it, and I kind of, from a romantic point of view, ending his career almost where it all started. He did have a season at Minardi, didn't he? But almost where it all started would be kind of poetic and lovely, and he gets on. I mean, look, I had a look on social to see what general fan reaction was to it, and others, and the general feeling from a few was, oh, there's no way you go back to Alpine. They wouldn't have him. Flavio would take Fernando back in a heartbeat. I promise you. It might spell the end for Pierre Gasly, but I think Gasly's doing enough to pick up a seat somewhere else anywhere. So, but yeah, Raheem says Alonso is garbage. Must be first day watching F1. Gucci might want to win a Gucci, great. CPB, Gucci tie-in. Yes, big money. Sign Alonso. What's the contract with Honda like for Aston Martin? I have no idea, Jamie. I'm surprised it's taken this long for the rumours to crop up that he's going to move, actually, to be fair. Bearing in mind the relationship with Honda hasn't been the best over the years. So I'm quite surprised the rumours of him leaving Aston didn't crop up pretty much as soon as Honda signed up with them. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I still think silly season we're not hearing much on silly season because I think drivers are just hanging on. They're waiting to see, because we've got B-spec cars coming. We've got the development war anyway to keep an eye on. It looks like we've got an agreement over the rules next year, which, do you want to chunter about this? Is just such a fucking waste of time. It really, I don't, we're going up a little bit next year on the split, so we're going to get more ICE, but it's a tiny amount, and then we're going to move to 60-40 for 2028. So teams are going to have to manufacturers will have to make some adjustments for next year. Then they've got to spend money making some adjustments the following year. Then at least, or maximum 3 years after that, they've then got to have invested another ton of money in building a whole new power unit. So one of Audi's reasons for not wanting to go straight to 60-40 is because they didn't want the cost implications. And other teams and manufacturers said the same, to be fair, not just Audi. But then they're going to now have to spend extra for 2 years, then run those engines possibly for 2 years, but up to 3, before having to spend a fortune again. So, I don't know. I'd sort of paraphrase Stuart a little bit on this one. Just put whatever the fuck you want in the back of the car and get on with it, because I don't want to have to be doing this every season for the next 2 or 3 years. Or we're going to go up a little bit on the ICE, we're going to go down a little bit on this, and tweaking it here and there, and 60-40 isn't enough anyway in the right direction, but having to wait another year, and I'm not buying into Sky's BS either. I've heard it quite a lot today from Natalie Pinkham and others saying, oh, we're not even talking about super clipping anymore, it's all about tyres. It's like, yeah, it's never mentioned online at all, super clipping. I don't know. I don't know why we're doing it this way. And if all of this is to keep Audi in the sport, sorry, Pascal, mate. Don't think it's worth it, because as soon as they've made the money or they've got what they want from it, they'll bog off anyway. So, I don't know. The sooner we get a definitive, this is what we're going to do long term, the better. And I know F1 always changes regulations, so even if they gave everyone what they were dreaming of in 2030, 2031, you know, a V8 or a V10 and no electrical energy, not going to happen. But if they did, 5 years after that, they're doing different power units or engines anyway, because that's how Formula One moves. So I don't want to spend the entirety of this era going up by little increments each year to try and make them work. If they're not working, just change them. But I'm not the one spending the money, so that's easier said than done, isn't it? Anyway, other thing, Pierre Gasly got his podium back from Monaco, and the FIA have opened up the biggest can of worms they've opened up in quite a while, frankly. I'm happy for Pierre. I think it's a little bit unfair is the wrong word, because I don't want people thinking, oh, it's not fair, because that's not what I mean. But it doesn't feel right that his penalty was deemed as wrong, or both of them, they get overturned, but then the other penalties that also appear to have been deemed wrong can't be adjusted. And I know it's because of complicated things. If you serve your penalty in the race, there's no mechanism in the regulation to overturn that. If you keep that penalty to the end of the Grand Prix, i.e. if Piastri hadn't pitted for a fresh set of tyres, therefore not served his penalty, he could have taken that to the end of the race. That would have got added to his race time, and there is a mechanism to adjust it there. But it just feels a little bit BS that a lot of drivers got penalties that, according to the FOM timing loops and the evidence put forward by Alpine, they shouldn't have got, and they can't do anything about that. So I know it's regulations, and in the way the regulations are written, I've had a brief look at it all again. It's all fine. It's all above board, and that's absolutely whatever FIA. You've made the right decision in that regard. It just doesn't... Yeah, there it is. There's my point. It's the right decision, but it doesn't feel like the right decision, if that makes sense. The George Russell one's curious. I know a lot of people say, oh, poor George. The George one's a little bit different. Here, Shaw's back on his George Russell hate bandwagon here. I don't mean it like that. He was given a penalty, which looks like it was now incorrect, but he didn't serve that penalty under the regulations and therefore got a different penalty. So his drive-through should stand. The problem is, his drive-through was given because he didn't serve a penalty he should never have had. So his is a little bit different to, say, Piastri, for example. It's all very confusing. We've got Red Bull appealing the decision to give Gasly the podium back. We've got McLaren appealing. We've got Mercedes seeking legal advice, although Toto Wolff himself admits he doesn't expect much to come of it because he doesn't think they can overturn the result. But I think all 11 teams need to get their heads together, write an open letter to the FIA and say, what we need reassurance that this doesn't happen again. But if it does happen again, while we acknowledge mistakes happen, there has to be a mechanism in the rules somewhere that can rectify that post-race in those situations, because it doesn't feel fair. Now, Sky have said George could lose a title over this at the end of the year. Yes, George could also lose a title because he's not been on form. He looks better this weekend, but these are the things that happen in F1. You know, he could lose a title because his engine or whatever failed in Canada, or a safety car that we saw in Japan. But they're the swings and roundabouts, if you like, of an F1 season, the ebbing and flowing. It doesn't sit quite right. And I think Martin Brundle made a good point as well about where do you now stop with this? You know, we're challenging rate. We shouldn't be sat ahead of qualifying with a final classification, then a change to that final classification, but then that final classification was retracted because there has now been there is a notice of intention to appeal. So now we don't actually know for sure what that result's going to, and that feels so stupid a week after the race is finished. But it feels like the early Formula E days. Do you remember those days where the race would finish on a Saturday or whatever, and then you get the result on the Wednesday because there were so many penalties and things to hand out? That's how it feels. But I'm waffling because I can't really get my head around it. Like I say, I've had a bit of a rough couple of days, but it just all feels a bit unnecessarily complicated and messy, and it does feel a little unfair. But by the regulations, it isn't, which is it's just the regulations are shocking. I did see, by the way, I don't like bringing it up because somebody be like, oh, a British person's still moaning about 2021. What a surprise. That's not what it is. I was very happy with the outcome in 2021, as it turns out. But I saw some people say, well, why didn't Toto Wolff put this effort into sorting out Abu Dhabi 2021? And it's like, he did. Mercedes lodged a notice of intention to appeal. They spoke to their legal team. They were going to take it to the Court of Arbitration for Sport? And then the FIA said, no. If you drop all of that, we'll do a thorough investigation and we'll make sure everything's all right. So Mercedes dropped it all, and the FIA they investigated themselves and didn't make sure it was all right. But there you go. Mercedes did try, and they were intending to, but they got into negotiations with the FIA, I believe, or so the story goes, and they were asked to drop it all, and they agreed to, as long as there was thorough investigation from the governing body who investigated themselves, like when the BBC investigate themselves. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's helpful. Anyway, that's a whole other story. We're nearly at qualify after all that rambling there. Let's see what you're saying in chat on this one. Do you agree? Do you think it was right to give Gasly that back, or do you think this has just caused a complete and total mess that was unnecessary? And Jacques Villeneuve, and this is a rare one, made a very good point. These teams discovered that this could be an issue on the Friday and didn't adjust their systems for it. So they were, as he put it, playing with fire. So do the teams have to take the blame for that? Is it an FIA mistake, or is it a combination of the two? As with anything in F1, it probably is a combination of multiple things. But I'll read your there's things about that, Count Blah, that I agree with, but I will also make the point that it is not, and you haven't said this, but a lot of people do, it's not the biggest controversy in F1 history. Literal race fixing, Singapore 2008 is a far bigger controversy. They are the way Alpine are going at the moment. Alonso and Alpine would be a great way to end his career, says Pascal. Can't believe we have Spa on rotation and all these build your own street tracks popping up. Dave the Fish. Dave, we'll do a midweek stream maybe in the summer and we'll have a moan about that, mate. Some of the tracks we get now, and we're putting Spa on rotation with, of all places, Barcelona. Aston Martin will only get better if Lawrence fires his son, says Ewan. Again, conversation for another day, but actually, to be fair, you need two top drivers to try and turn a team around that's struggling, don't you? And if one of those isn't really on it, then yeah. The music has kicked in, so I'll go to that in a second. We'll get the track map set up in a minute. I just want to read some of your comments because I've just waffled for ages on that one. I hope Audi gets top 10 today and tomorrow. Last season, Peter Sauber attended 3 races and the team scored 16 points. Will he be our lucky mascot again, says Pascal, hopefully. Just came. WTF did I miss? Says Corner Wookie or Kieran. CFB says it's dumb. The stewards need to be more decisive instead of the post-race review BS. I doubt Gazzy will be happy with it either way because it robbed him of a moment celebrating in Monaco. Yeah. Back in the day, you couldn't appeal an in-race penalty. Remember teams appealing post-race drive-thrus and getting them thrown out. To me, a 5-second penalty is in-race penalty, so shouldn't be appealable. I agree, Fudd. Don't forget Michael Schumacher served his stop-go at the end of the British Grand Prix in 98 after he crossed the line, and that was questioned but never really got overturned, did it? So we've had worse. So if you get a penalty, says Yori, you think is unfair, you can no longer make a pit stop if you want to appeal it. That's very stupid, even by FIA standards. Time penalties, yes. I did see Ted Kravitz said earlier in FP3, it was Karun, argued, why didn't Mercedes just not serve the penalty and argue the toss at the end of the race? Well, if they hadn't served the drive-through within 3 laps, I believe that then gets upgraded to a 10-second stop-go. I haven't checked this for years, so I don't know for sure. And if you then don't serve that within 3 laps, I think you get disqualified from the race. So that's why they had to serve the drive-through. But again, the drive-through was the correct penalty because they didn't follow the rules correctly. It's the first penalty that shouldn't have existed in the first place. It's a problem. If in a football match a ref gives a penalty and a red card when the defender dived whilst the red card can be rescinded post-match, the goal wouldn't be disallowed, says Fudd. Jamie says they do, but also most other teams didn't appeal like Alpine did, and that was the Ginger who says, is there a mechanism for protesting in a penalty in the race? George did try, didn't he? Ran up to the stewards to have a word during the red flag, but that didn't happen. Hey to Kevin, I hope you well, mate. I hope everything went well last week with your daughter's, was it a steel drum event? I hope all went well there. It is a mess and I have no idea how they fix it, says Annette. Sean, why you wear Ferrari swag? Oh, I can't be bothered with the... you're only an extra Ferrari fan. I wear any merch and I'm that team's fan for the weekend for some people. So, Toto had his lawyer at the race, says Jamie. Yep. F1 needs to go back to unlimited speeds in the pit lane, go wild and don't watch F1 for stewards' decisions. Kevin's go for it today. And ultimately, the pit lane situation couldn't be avoided no matter who is to blame, says Jamie. 100% FIA mistake, says Raheem. And I think, yeah. Steel Pan, that was it. Today's orchestra. She also plays the violin, says Kevin. Awesome stuff, mate. Awesome stuff. Let's get the... sorry, I've that went on longer than I wanted to. I honestly didn't think I'd moan that much about all of that, but then moaning is kind of my MO, I suppose. So, yeah. Going to be an interesting session, I fear. But potentially not an exciting one. I mean, qualifying is always exciting to a point, but I think what we're looking at today is a lot of talk about what they're calling a one lap shootout, not literally, but in the sense that they are going to have to go out on a set of softs and only get one lap out of them because of the degradation is so high. No on-track footage for obvious copyright reasons. Again, I feel like I shouldn't need to explain that in 2026, but I will at the start of streams and no more than that. Live time provided by the folks over at Multiviewer for F1. Thank you to those guys, as always, for allowing me to use the timing during these streams. Helps to make them more interesting than just my face going for an hour and a half or whatever. There you go. Link in the description to download the app. The app is free, but you will need some sort of F1 TV subscription, F1 Access, or F1 TV Access, or F1 TV Pro. Both work absolutely fine. I use Access, so there you go. That's your usual shout-outs and your usual, come on, guys, it's 2026. You must understand copyright law by now. We're 30 seconds away from the start of qualifying. Don't forget to drop a stream as well, a like on the stream, and subscribe as well if you are new. Some let's just say for this moment for us together, between us, some big decisions are going to have to be made by me in the next 6 to 8 weeks. A couple of offers, let's say, on the table, not to buy the channel, don't worry. A couple of offers on the table. One I'm still waiting to hear back from, but I've got some decisions to make in the coming weeks. So hopefully this channel can turn a corner and become financially viable. But we go for qualifying in Barcelona. I just realised I just threw all that at you, and you're now going to be going, what's going on? Where are you going? Nowhere. I'm not going anywhere. Don't panic. I'm not selling anything. I might sell my foot. Might help. Maybe. We've got some cars straight out on track. Bottas, Ocon, Bearman. Yeah, all about tyres this weekend and high degradation. But I said this in a preview. It's really surprising to me we've come to this weekend with a step softer on the compounds from Pirelli. So C2, C3, C4 rather than 3, 4, 5. Because this is a track that's it's one of the most demanding on the calendar for tyres. So I came into this weekend saying I'd be very surprised if we don't get at least 2 stops tomorrow. It's now sounding like it might be as many as 3 for some teams. So it's going to be really interesting tomorrow. So I don't... Qualifying is important, and historically it is more important than Monaco pole position. But if we're going to get potentially 3 stops tomorrow, that could change that up quite a bit. And keep an eye on McLaren. Whatever they do today, we know from the last couple of years, McLaren on their tyres, they're very, very good at them. Very good at maintaining them, very good at keeping them alive. So if we have a high deg race tomorrow, which it sounds like we're going to, then McLaren could be sitting quite pretty there if they can manage to stretch it to a 2-stopper and not be forced into a 3. So keep an eye on them. Wherever they qualify today, they might still be a threat for the win tomorrow. Surely he's going to be sponsored by a brand who will make him do his smooth segues into selling their toilet paper and whatnot. Yeah, I filmed one this morning, but it was a bit too graphic, so I had to start again for that one, Kevin. Yeah, softer tyres, sorry. I didn't mean softer tyres. A step softer. 2, 3, 4 this weekend. No, they've got other way around. Yeah, no, they were the hardest 1, 2, 3. They're now 2, 3, 4. Forgive me. Like I say, not a great couple of days. So I'm a bit, yeah. Yeah, that's right. CPB, yeah. I'd rather hire those two than work there, though. So that's for sure. That's all I'm saying. No more. Keep your comments coming in throughout. I'll obviously come to you in chat throughout the stream, and we'll just waffle through this together, I'm sure. I'll keep an eye on what's going on, waiting for the first laps. Because the first laps might be quite meaningful today, actually. Interestingly, Ocon and Bearman out in the mediums, by the way. But I think it might be quite important to keep an eye on most of the opening laps. Sometimes your opening laps are banker laps, but it feels very much today like they're just going to be pushing flat out, get a lap in, pit, put new tyres on, go again. So I might be wrong. They might use some used tyres like the Haas boys are doing and going round and round and getting some laps in just to get a feel for the track or whatever, or whatever they're doing out there. No, it's all right, Dave. I got it the wrong way around as well. I was pretending they always bought the softest tyres to this weekend, which they do not. They do not. So Albon across the line for P4, soft tyre. Like I say, yeah, S is soft. Is it S for Sainz, Albon and Bottas, and then M for Ocon and Bearman on their medium tyres there. They're used tyres, so interesting what Haas do with that. Are they just putting some laps on the board? The tyres aren't holding on. The soft tyre isn't holding on for a full lap either. That's worth keeping an eye on. So it's one of those qualifying sessions potentially where it's going to be more about keeping the tyre alive. So a consistent lap rather than a completely flat out lap. So a bit like the pole for Kimi in Monaco was a consistent lap rather than it was the best lap, obviously, but he wasn't purple in any sector, so it was a nice, consistently driven lap. So that's what we need to see today. But Russell seems to have the advantage at the moment over his teammate, but I didn't think Antonelli would be in the mix for pole last weekend, and he took it in the end, so there you go. Aston 1 and 2 if the grid was reversed, says Kevin. Yeah, that's the story of the season so far. How many poles would Stroll have had if the grid had been reversed every weekend? Sainz P1 stop the count, says Jamie. Russell looks like he's getting ready to pop out on track, as is Antonelli. I couldn't see the tyres that were on there, and it'll be the soft tyre, I thought. Yeah, soft on Antonelli, soft on Russell. There's a Red Bull heading out as well. But yes, a steady start. Only had 7 cars popping a lap on the board, so here comes everybody else. Hulkenberg out on track as well. Well, James Vowles is not in a very positive mood, is he, with Williams at the moment, in the sense that he's not happy with where the car is, obviously, but he's quite pessimistic about their weekend, or their chances this weekend. But he also points out they have been scoring points lately, so maybe they'll be one of the surprise packages today, Williams, hopefully, or this weekend. Be good to see them further. I'd love Williams to do a McLaren turnaround, a team that it never felt like they were ever going to get back to the front. All of a sudden, there they are. So Williams, Ferrari and McLaren fighting at the front would feel very nostalgic for me, that's for sure. Russell, we've got the games in the pit lane, backing up and leaving space, of course. Of course, Maldonado was Williams' last win, wasn't it, in 2012? It's been a while, and that was 2012 was their first win since 97? No, it can't have been, because Montoya won. I'm lying to you. That was their last championship, so it would have been about 2005-ish, 4, 5-ish, somewhere around there. I'll Google that in the gap, unless you already know, and then let me know. But yeah, 97 was the last title. The last win was 2012, but that was their first win for a while. 2004 Monza. Thank you, Jamie. There you go. So yeah, it was a good while, wasn't it, waiting for that one to come. Oh, Brazil 2004, says CPB. That was a question from Jamie. So, 2004 was the year, by the sounds of it. So, who remembers Montoya going for the win in Brazil one year and getting shunted after trying to lap a car? Yeah, that was a moment, wasn't it? Caused a bit of drama. That led to Williams very quickly having keep your distance or something like that written on their rear wing. I can't remember what it was. Mind your distance or piss off, probably more than anything. After that, there were a few instances of drivers driving to the back of them. Verstappen, purple in the first sector. Not a great surprise. Sainz currently fastest. No shade there on Carlos. He's just not in a car fighting for pole today. But Verstappen on board with him. He's not happy this weekend. Like I said in the little build-up we did, that he's sort of, that's the story of his season, really. He's not happy in that car. Thought for Hadjar as well this weekend, losing his podium potentially in Monaco. That's the downside, isn't it? Hadjar loses that podium, but also Gasly gets it back, potentially. So 16.9 for Hulkenberg. Comfortably faster than Sainz, 1.1 in fact. So really good lap. But over the line goes Max Verstappen. It's 0.6 quicker than Hulkenberg, but I thought that'd be more than that. So I don't think that's a bad lap from Nico at all there in the Audi at this stage. Gasly over the line goes third, 17 flats. Then we're going to get Bortoletto starting a lap. Leclerc's on one, purple in the middle sector. Over the line goes Leclerc, goes fastest on a 15.9. Apparently Hamilton complaining he's got no power or struggling to get power in his car. So that's according to Sky Comms. We'll see if we get anything on the world feed for that. Antonelli and Hadjar are next to complete their laps by the look of it. Hadjar goes third on a 16.4. Here comes Kimi Antonelli on one hell of a run at the moment and goes second, only second, a 15.9. George Russell, purple in the middle sector. Lewis Hamilton seems to be fine. He's got purple in the first sector and obviously PB in the middle sector. There goes Russell over the line, goes fastest by 2.5 tenths over Charles Leclerc. We'll see what Hamilton does here. He seems okay, Lewis. I don't know what that's... Maybe not completely happy with the car. Goes fastest. I didn't think Ferrari would be in the mix this weekend quite like this, but yeah, that's fine. Yeah, no power for Hamilton is the new my tyres are gone. Definitely. Black and white flag for car 44, driving unnecessarily slowly. That's a driving standards flag. So, not sure. We might get a replay of that. Leclerc's slow, but I think he's backing off to create space. But he's got Norris and Perez. And Albon was gone through as well there. Norris is cut behind him here. So, he wants to be... There's a race going on up there. We're watching on board with Norris. It looks like Perez and Leclerc are fighting for track position. But Norris is on a hot lap. Leclerc's coming to the pit, so that seems unnecessary. Over the line, there we go. Norris does a 16.2, but again, I think tomorrow McLaren are one of the teams to watch with their historic, let's say, tyre management advantage. Piastri goes 5th. And there's Bearman goes 15th. Is that a new livery for the Red Bull? No, there's one of the Racing Bulls, or the RB. Yeah, they've got a special livery this weekend, Dave. I'm not sure what it's in. I think it's a World Cup promotion, because they did the football shirts, haven't they? We've got yellow flags. That's Aston Martin going slowly. And is it Stroll? Has he had an off? That was at turn 10, 11. So we'll see if we get a replay of that one. Possibly on the escape road, watching Alexander Albon down to turn 1. I'm guessing lock up on the right front and straight across and then into the escape road. Ooh, didn't follow race director's instructions on rejoining there. Did. Ooh. Albon off again at turn 9. Goodness me. That's a scruffy one. So not sure. He might be in trouble there. Ticking off. And yeah, Stroll just understeers wide and into the gravel. I hope that's carrying too much speed and not just about as much steer as the Aston Martin has in it, because that is not good. So we've got cars pitting. Norris, Piastri, Bearman, Ocon and Bottas on track, but I imagine Norris in the pits. He is. Piastri will be next. It does feel a little bit one lap shoot out, doesn't it? Soft tyres on, do a lap, pit, put some more on, because it's all going to go quiet again with 5 minutes and 50 to go. Did Aston fix their strange vibrations, says Kieran? From earlier in the season, I don't know about this weekend specifically, Kieran, if it's about that, mate. Like, I haven't really kept up with it for family reasons. But yeah, no. They seem to fix it from earlier in the season, but I don't know if they had a specific one for this weekend, so I couldn't answer that. Someone in chat might know, though. They seem to have a new one every other weekend, so I wasn't sure if it was just their standard one. I hadn't seen it for a while, says Dave. Feels like that, doesn't it, with Racing Bulls? But maybe they get paid some good money for that, in which case, fair enough. Can't blame them, really. But yeah, they seem to have sorted that one. Yeah, if it's the season-long one, or I say season-long, we're round 7, but yeah, they seem to have sorted it for the most part. But it turns out the car is just generally a bit crap. The power unit isn't good. They thought the vibrations were a big part of it. They fixed that. It turns out the power unit is still not good. The chassis is not good. And this is a track that will expose that. It's the most complete, or one of the most complete circuits on the calendar. Real test for, chassis. So I guess power unit, yeah, because they've got some fast corners, they've got the long straight as well, but really it'll expose a bad car. And that Aston Martin is a bad car. There's a face in the background I recognise there. I'm not going to start celebrity spotting, don't worry, but it made me look. That Carlos Sainz was desperate to get out there. You got the tyre blankets off, though. All good. So, here we go. Time for the final shootout, I guess, for the place in Q2. We are at the moment at risk of losing Stroll, Alonso, Albon, Bottas, Ocon, Perez, and it's 6, isn't it? So, yeah, that's your 6. Sainz on the bubble at his home Grand Prix. Imagine we don't get either Spanish driver through to the through to Q2. The Cadillacs are messing about and trying to get out, but Alonso's got Sainz right behind him. I wonder. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's an improvement, Jamie. It's not tearing into pieces. They could do more than 25 laps, which is a massive bonus versus where they were. But for that, it just doesn't feel right, Fernando not having a good weekend in Spain. I know there's been plenty of moments for him there, but there have been some pretty awesome ones as well. Good moments. So, yeah, be good to see him get into Q2, but I'd be very surprised in Aston Martin. Sainz has got a shot in the Williams. He's currently safe, but obviously these times are going to come down a little bit. At the moment, we've got 2 minutes and 40 to go in this first session. Martin Brundle, thank you. Oh, sorry, I heard him talking about it. 17:4 is the knockout time. Martin Brundle saying what I said at the start of this stream, that Fernando Alonso saying it's his last Barcelona Grand Prix doesn't mean he's retired at the end of this year. It just means it's not on the calendar next year. So he could still retire at the end of 2027. Finally. Been waiting for somebody to say it in the media rather than just me ranting and moaning about it. Goodness me. Hey, Nilesh. Hope you're well, mate. Says, I hate to say it, but with the new V-Car livery, it looks quite nice. I think it looks fine was my genuine response to it was, that's all right, when I saw it, because they have had some shockers in the past, but yeah. But thank you, Martin Brundle, again. As Jamie says, average Martin Brundle W. Yeah, finally. Here we go then. We've got 1 minute and 40 to go. So let's see these laps, these cars over the line for their final runs. Gasly, I mean, he might have to go again, but he's not flying. He's 7 tenths down Hamilton. His personal best middle sector, not a great first sector. Colapinto improving, so that's good. Albon improving as well. Albon, let's have a look at him. 22.4. He's in the mix. He's in the mix to get through. But so is Colapinto, I think. Doesn't mean he will, but he is in the mix. Gasly goes 10th. Colapinto will be the next one across the line. Then Alex Albon. A lot of cars have stayed in the pits, actually. The entire top 9, including Arvid Lindblad, have stayed in. So they're happy there. 17.4, sorry. Is Bearman down. So I feel like that's a bit... Yeah, Albon goes 15th. That's about right. 17.4 for Albon, yeah. Projected knockout time. Hulkenberg, Ocon, Perez, Bottas, Stroll, all improving. Stroll improves to 21st. Whoa, steady on, mate. 21st for Lance Stroll. I suppose the battle for him is trying to beat his teammate. As Hulkenberg goes 5th. Pascal dancing somewhere. Bortoletto 13th. Ocon 15th. Bearman, is he going to get through? He goes up to 11th place. Alonso, personal best middle sector. Ever so slightly slower than his teammate. Round the final corner comes Fernando and stays 22nd. Fernando out-qualified by his teammate in Spain. And Sainz jumps up into 16th place to, I think, as Bottas goes 19th. Unless Perez is going to shock us all. He does not. He goes 19th and out-qualifies Bottas. But Sergio Perez... yeah, he does out-qualify Bottas, and Carlos Sainz sneaks through, so we've lost Esteban Ocon, Alex Albon, Sergio Perez, Valtteri Bottas, Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso. Any surprises there? Maybe Ocon, but it tends to be Haas versus Audi versus Williams versus Racing Bulls, really. I know when we're looking at Q1, doesn't it? Sometimes Racing Bulls, sorry. So... maybe not a massive shock there, but yeah, Sainz is through on home soil, so that's good. We've got one Spanish driver into the second phase of qualifying, but we've lost Alex Albon in the Williams, and we've lost Fernando Alonso, the other hometown hero, but Fernando out-qualified by Stroll by just over half a tenth. Yes, so Stroll could be happy that he's out-qualified his teammate, but I don't think... Aston will be happy with the fact that they are a second, I'll say that again, 1 second behind the Cadillac of Valtteri Bottas. I said it, Barcelona, you know this, is a very complete track. It'll expose a bad car. The Aston Martin around Barcelona, a track these teams know very well, is a second slower than a car that is brand new to the grid and won't know Barcelona as well. That's... I'd say embarrassing, but I think the whole season's been an embarrassment for Aston Martin so far, if I'm being brutally honest, as opposed to normally when I'm just honest. I'll be brutally honest. Hey, Ash. Hey to J Webb as well. Says, as the only Stroll fan in the UK, I will take that. There we go. We all love Lance Stroll, really. It's all performative. We're all massive Lance Stroll fans deep down inside. Yeah. Yeah. Fernando Elasto says, golf balls. We have to refresh the stream so it goes down. I'm sorry, we had this last week, but the chat you just keeps falling behind. I know I'm quite a bit behind. I have got it on ultra low, or yeah, low latency. So, but chat falls a bit behind. So, which is a shame. Yellow flags as they sweep up some gravel up at turn 9. I assume that's what they're doing up there. Alex Albon running off there, of course, earlier. So, yes. Yeah, 1 second off that caddy. That's, yeah, I mean, 1.2 off Perez in the other Cadillac. That's bad. We're getting the usual failure to follow race director instructions on the maximum delta time. Nothing on Albon not rejoining as he should, but I'm assume that'll be something they talk about later if they need to talk about it at all. Just a reminder in the driver meetings, I suppose. But yeah, they'll not do much with that. It's I'll mention it when it pops up, but it's fundamentally it's cars getting out of the way of slow cars getting out of the faster cars, and because they back off to let them through, they then fall foul of that. So it's generally what happens. But Hamilton did top that session, 15.6. Russell just under a tenth behind with Leclerc, quarter of a second further back. Antonelli just behind him there, 13,000th. Then Hulkenberg was only 900ths off Antonelli in the end. Perez says that maximise it for tomorrow. We are in a good position for tomorrow. There you go. So Cadillac will be happy with that. Both out qualifying both of the Aston Martins, and by a margin. I think the biggest surprise in that session is probably Hulkenberg P5. So good stuff from Hulkenberg. I didn't put the checker flag up, did I? Oh dear, that'll confuse everyone. They're not. The session's over now. I'm joking. I was too enthralled by the slightly anticlimactic end to Q1. We'll see what happens in this one, though. Why did they even bother with these failure to follow race directive stuff? Just ignore, or they just ignore it. Because they have to tick the boxes for the rules, don't they? I know you probably know that. I'm just, yeah, tick the boxes. Shut up, Kieran. Stop it. Kieran's causing trouble. Winding me up. In the best way possible, of course. But yeah, no, just ticking boxes, basically. They'll look at it and go, yeah, well, we have to investigate it, so we'll investigate it, but we know what's happened. So, although Hamilton did get a black and white flag for driving unnecessarily slowly, so one to keep an eye on, because he won't get away with that again if he does it. Some Colapinto fans in the crowd, if you were wondering. And if you weren't wondering, then you know now. Annette says, yeah, Hulk did well. Yeah. I think that's a really good lap. I mean, Bortoleto was 14th. So did a cracking job. Like I say, only 900ths off Antonelli, you know, only 4.5 tenths of a second off the fastest time. So that Audi clearly, I think some of you said last week that the Audi has a good chassis. In fact, we discussed it a lot, didn't we? They have a good chassis and maybe the engine's not quite where it needs to be, or the power unit isn't quite where it needs to be. But if they've got a good chassis, they should go well here. So some points would be nice for them and for Pascal, of course. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with Ferrari's performance there. McLaren, again, I'm not... As long as they're in touch with the Ferraris and the Mercedes after today, I think they're ones to watch tomorrow, like I keep saying, with that advantage they tend to have with managing their tyres. But I actually wonder if Alonso got affected by Stroll's off. He was behind him on track, says Fud. Possibly. That happened before he went for his final run, but it might have affected his preparation. So yeah, there's a point there. I'm sure he'll soon complain if he needs to, Fernando. But you see things like that. His potential last ever visit to Barcelona, well, the racetrack at least in Formula 1. Last place, behind his teammate, rumours of a return to Alpine. You can sort of see why he might be having a conversation with Flavio, can't you? If you hadn't already thought about that one. Fernando never complains. He's a perfectly content rookie, says Fud. He's great for content, if that's what you mean. GP2 engine and all that. I think the Racing Bulls livery is nicer in the light, or in the flesh, if that makes sense. I'm not there, but you know what I mean. On TV, it looks better than in photos or in the renders anyway. So the light is green. The green flag is on. We are go for Q2, but nobody seems to be rushing. Petition, by the way, to shorten FP3 to 30 minutes, given that nobody bothers for the first 20. That'll get them all out on track. But yeah, we are green for the second part of qualifying. It'll be a quiet start. Again, they're going to have to look after tyres or manage their tyre allocation. The teams like Ferrari, Mercedes, they're only going to want to do one run. McLaren as well, if they can. A lot of eyes on the degradation tomorrow, so it could be a one-lap shootout. Oh, no, it isn't. Never mind. Who would replace Fernando at Aston if he left? It would feel like Sainz would be a front runner, or Gasly. Well, depends what happens with Mr. Verstappen, doesn't it? I suppose. If let's go back into last summer's rumours. If he ends up at Mercedes, then George Russell could end up at Aston Martin. Or maybe if he's got the option of Aston Martin or a year out, George will take a year out. I think I know what I'd pick. But yeah, no, Aston Martin could be an option for George. Yuki Tsunoda with the Honda tie could be an option. Maybe bring him back. He was linked last year, wasn't he, with Rolls there? So maybe there's a possibility there. if you're just tuning in and wonder why we're talking about silly season, it's because we are still waiting for cars to hit the track for Q2. So I'll let you know when they're out there. They won't be long. I'd imagine, I'm going to say 12 and a half minutes they'll leave. 12 and a half minutes on the clock. We'll start to see some cars on track. That's my shout. If that's right, I'm a genius. If I'm wrong, then how was I supposed to know? But no, Sainz, I'd rather stay at Williams and go to Aston if I was Sainz. But then if it's a chance to front up a works team, you might fancy it. Take over from his hero. Maybe. But I think Tsunoda's a fair shout. Maybe Verstappen. If Verstappen's not happy in the Red Bull, he ain't going to be happy in an Aston Martin. So we're 12 seconds away from Sean's prediction of 12:30 on the clock before cars start to come out of the pits. Or the pit garages. And Piastri's leaving on 12:31. Look, I'm just saying, I'm a genius, all right? Gasly's already out there. He's ruined that. Thanks, Gasly. Yeah, Checo. Maybe. I don't know. I'll tell you what, though, with Checo, he's done a really great job in that car. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Had a point in Monaco. I think solidly outperforming Bottas. I need to go through the numbers and I need to fill out my charts. I've got some charts and Excel spreadsheets I like to fill out. Usually I haven't been doing them, so I'll get those sorted. Hopefully in a gap between this one and Austria, because I've got a whole week off with no racing next week. Then it's a double header, Austria and Silverstone. So, but yeah, Bottas certainly the weaker of the two at the moment. But then, you know, if they get an update on the car that suits him, it might swing the other way. So, I don't think Bottas is quite past it yet. But Perez is certainly doing the better of the two in that car at the moment. So I think, yeah, Andy brings money. Andy brings experience. Andy brings the fact, you know, brings all his fans with him as well. So it's not too bad, is it, for Cadillac if he's delivering on track as well. So, yeah. Key for Cadillac. We saw it in Monaco as we now get lots of cars on tracks. We'll follow Gasly soon when he starts his lap. But key for Cadillac, as we saw in Monaco, get your cars, in Perez's case, to the end of the race if you can. If things happen, you could pick up a point or two, and they very nearly did. They finished top 10, but then penalties took that away. So, or they would have, yeah. Unfortunately. So Gasly's just rounding the final quarter to start a flying lap. 10:40. It's taken this long to get these laps up. Again, they're having to manage their tyres. They can't just go out and do a couple of hot laps right at the start of the session, then do a cool lap and then go again. They've got it pretty much one and done. That's a Martin Brundle phrase, isn't it? One and done. Or not his. Others will have said it before, I'm sure. But, yeah. So Gasly is obviously purple in the first sector. Nobody else has gone through there. Yeah, Colapinto will come through, though, now. What's he going to do? 22.7 for Gasly. 22.4 for Colapinto. Hopefully he can bounce back from a difficult weekend in Monaco on what has been a blip and what has been a really good run for Colapinto of late, I feel. He seems to have sort of got to grips with that car now and he's settled in quite nicely, and I'm quite excited to see what he can do for the rest of the season up against Gasly. So Hulkenberg now purple 10th quicker than Colapinto. So now Verstappen's gone quicker, half a second up, but that's not a massive shock, is it? So how many laps do I think I could do in an F1 car? Kieran, I couldn't get in an F1 car, so 0. There's not a chance I'd get an F1 car. Yet. Maybe one day. 176 for Gasly is the first time on the board in Q2. Yes, Neelish. Yes, please do leave a like, everyone, if you haven't already. Really appreciate it. Try and get the channel a boost in the algorithm so I can keep doing these and keep putting content out. Hulkenberg goes fastest, 16.9. Wow, 4.5 tenths quicker than the Alpine of Franco Colapinto. That's a good lap again from Nico Hulkenberg. So that, at least in the hands of Hulkenberg, that Audi's got some pace this weekend. Verstappen does a 15.4, just a casual 1.4 seconds quicker than Hulkenberg. But again, that's Hulkenberg's lap's been deleted. Track limits. Yeah, he's going to lose that time, unfortunately, is Hulkenberg. And there he goes, down to 11th place. So, and Gonna have to go again, Hulkenberg. Antonelli, Perp in the middle sector. Charles Leclerc's on a good lap. Hadjar goes second. Let's say 2.5 tenths off Verstappen. You could say 3 tenths if you want, but 0.270. Your call. Leclerc goes fastest on a 15.2. That's 2 tenths quicker than Verstappen. Antonelli, quick. But only second. So it seems to me... You lived your life like... Anyway. It seems as though Kimi Antonelli is he losing his tyres in the final sector? Because he's perp in the first sector. Looked like he was going to be well clear of it, or fastest over Leclerc, and then sort of... But he didn't lose that much in the final sector to Leclerc, so... Yeah. Russell's gone fastest by 50. I'm trying to work out Antonelli's lap, but yeah. Russell fastest 15.2. Ninth for Piastri. Where's Norris? What's he doing? 22.1. 30.8. That's going to jump up the time. Only 8th, to be fair, for Norris. So McLaren not in a... I mean, I said earlier, watch them tomorrow, but they still need to be in the top 10, realistically, to be challenging at the front. But yeah, they are on used tyres. Good shout. Yes, good spot. Actually, that's a point. Should I read through them, Fud? See as you've reminded me. Norris, Piastri, Colapinto, Bearman, Gasly, Sainz, and Hulkenberg on used tyres. I usually spot that straight away, so thank you, Fud, for giving me a prod there, mate. Appreciate that as always. But everyone else on new tyres. But, I mean, 1.1 off for Piastri, 8 tenths for Norris. Yeah, would you knock a half second off for a fresh set on there, maybe? Maybe not quite that much. Yeah. They should be okay then. Yeah, I should have spotted that. I apologise, everybody. Gemini decided used tyres were the best strategy for them. Yeah. Keep using your brains, people, unlike me. That's the thing. If he's still on good terms with Stroll, maybe he could come back. Plus, Perez has experience with Newey. I have so much rear locking ever, it's dreadful, says Norris. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Aston Martin are going for a driver they pick. Perez will be top of their list. No, again, that's not a dig at Perez at all. I think if I was guessing today, I'd go Tsunoda. But is Tsunoda, with all due respect, a big enough name to replace Fernando Alonso? I feel like it'd be Tsunoda and then a big name would be the way Aston should go. They won't. We know who's going to be in one of those seats next year, unless he decides he's had enough, which he may yet do. So, is he going to go deep here? It's just, yeah, lots of understeer at the... it's not really a hairpin, is it? It sort of is hairpin-ish at turn 10. It opens up a lot more on the exit than a hairpin would normally, but... Yeah, there you go. CPB, there you go. Hamilton and Tsunoda at Aston Martin confirmed. There you go, CPB. So Hulkenberg lost. Don't forget Hulkenberg lost his time on a 16.9, which would currently put him in 12th place and 3 tenths off his teammate. So it wasn't a great lap, but that was on used tyres as well. So if we knock a few tenths off that, Hulkenberg's in the mix here for a top 10. Potentially. 2 left feet. Hey, mate, he says, I'd say Yuki to Haas. He was on their list, wasn't he, for this year? But they stuck with Ocon and Bearman. I thought he was on their list last, or at least that was the rumours. As the McLarens head out on track on a nice fresh set of soft tyres. Piastri leading the way. As he was in the championship this time last year, wasn't he? Thank you very much, MD Games, member for 4 months. Really appreciate your support, mate. It says supporting Formula Sean for another month. Thank you very much, mate. I really appreciate your support as always, and everybody who's a member or patron. Thank you so much as always. You are making it possible to carry on doing this. So the more the merrier is all I'm going to say. People have money, but we'll see. Kira says, who's leaving Haas? Ocon, caps. He's shouting at me for some reason. Is Kira? I don't know what I've done. I read a rumour, and I think it was Aston Martin. It's just come back to me from earlier this week that they were already lining up replacements for Alonso, not necessarily for next season, but in the next year or two, because they know he's at the end of his career. And Ollie Bearman is one of the drivers on their list. I can't see Ferrari letting him go. I think Ollie Bearman will be in a Ferrari before he's in a Haas. He's already in a Haas, in an Aston Martin. And I think it's more likely he stays at Haas next year than moves anywhere else, and then maybe something opens up at Ferrari in the near future. Well, it's down to Lewis Hamilton, isn't it, really? Leclerc's there, apparently for life. Apparently he enjoys it. Who knew? Here we go then. Piastri coming around the final corner. A much better final corner. They've got that stupid chicane that comes just before it. Or stop using it. It's still there, I believe. But Piastri then, nicely through the first couple of corners. His first sector time was, can I get there quickly enough, 22.2. This time on the fresh softs, it is a 22 flat. So that's a couple of tenths in the first sector already. About a tenth down on Russell. Got a bit of traffic through turn 4, which seemed to get out of the way, but won't have helped with the dirty air. But he still seems okay. Does Piastri on board with him now? McLaren, of course, it's their 1000th Grand Prix start this weekend. Don't forget that. They're not even mentioning it on their actual 1000th Grand Prix start, but they wouldn't shut up about it on their 999th. I will not let it go. Piastri, 3 tenths down on Russell now in the middle sector. That's overall, so 30.5. It is his best, though. Same for Norris. He's a little bit quicker than his teammate in the first sector, a little bit second sector, a little bit down in the first. Piastri flings it in. Round the final corner, opens that the active area, which we've got back this weekend, and goes P6. So it's not totally comfortable for McLaren. Black and white flag for Hulkenberg for driving unnecessarily slowly. Norris goes 4th on a 1:15.3 and go purple, actually, in the final sector. So was Norris saving tyres earlier in the lap to use them at the end of the lap? Sainz, what can he do? Stays 15th. Does improve, but stays 15th on a 17.8. Liam Lawson. Yeah, that Racing Bulls livery looks nicer on the track and on TV than it did in the renders, for sure. But then cars do, because the light hits them. So it just looks better anyway. Just nice to see glossy cars back on the grid, to be honest. 3.5 tenths down on Russell's Lawson. That would put him, if he carries this on, into P8. But, of course, you've got to make sure he's got the tyres for the final few corners. Flicks right. And then he'll flick right again. Will Liam Lawson. And go over to Lan. And he will be P8. I said P8. There you go. I'm reading things. Good. Not really what tyres they're on. Everybody except Sainz on new tyres, by the way, I should say. On that note, Hulkenberg goes 10th. That's a little bit surprising. 15.7, but he is in. But he's going to be under threat from a lot of cars behind here. There is the checkered flag. So let's see these laps finish. Then over the line goes Bearman. He goes 12th. So gains a couple of places. Bortoletto currently 13th on a personal best lap. He goes 12th. Gasly and Colapinto both again on better laps. Here goes Gasly. He goes 13th. What could Colapinto do? He's a little bit off his teammate in the middle sector, but here he comes. Is it Hulkenberg or Colapinto? It's Hulkenberg. Colapinto does out-qualify Gasly, though. So we've lost Arvid, Lindblad, Gabriel Bortoletto, Franco Colapinto, Pierre Gasly, Ollie Bearman, and Carlos Sainz. So a great result there for Hulkenberg. I wasn't quite sure that was going to be enough, that 15.7, but it was. Only a 100th slower than Hadjar in the Red Bull. So really good lap there again from Hulkenberg. 1.2 seconds quicker than his 16.9 that got deleted, I believe. Yes. So that's pretty impressive as well. But yeah, Russell fastest 15.2. Then Leclerc half a tenth behind. Then it's Antonelli just behind that. Then Norris. Then Hamilton. Then Verstappen, Piastri, Lawson, Hadjar, and Hulkenberg. And like I say, Lindblad, Bortoletto, Colapinto, Gasly, Bearman, and Sainz are all out. I keep getting stream warnings again. So it's funny. We we've got Virgin Broadband, the gigabyte thing. And it's generally all right. Just the last few weeks, it's been a bit of a pain in the arse, actually. We had the problems last week, didn't we, with the stream? So, not sure what's going on there, but there. Hey. Through goes a Hulkenberg, which has pleased Pascal. Thank you to Golf Balls as well. Member for 3 months says Fernando must feel old. The current championship leader wasn't born when he won his titles. I know how he feels, mate. I feel very old. But thank you very much for your continued support. Really appreciate it, as always. So thank you, mate. And thanks for keeping chat cheery as well. There's always some sarcasm in there, and I love it. Yeah, Hadjar hung on. He was okay in the end, but I don't know. Laps weren't great, but what we're seeing it. You can see it with Cadillac and Aston Martin, you see it with the Alpines, but this can quite often be a Noah's Ark grid, can't it? And at the moment, we're not getting that. That doesn't mean we won't by the end of this. But you know, you look into that top, that the teams that we've lost so far. You know, Lindblad, Bortoletto, so that's Racing Bulls, Audi. Then you've got a couple of cars together. Then you've got Bearman, Sainz, Ocon, Albon. Then 2 cars together and 4 cars at the back. So, yeah, not quite so Noah's Ark as it can be, but still an element of it. They're close. Golf Ball says, don't know what Sean is complaining about. I'm older than he is. You're as old as you feel, mate, and I feel about 117, which would be an impressive age to live to, but there you go. Did anyone hear one of the youngsters talk about how he's driving with some of the older guys like Norris and Russell, says Fudd. Who said that? And they should be banned from motorsport for life for that kind of comment. That's appalling. Whoever that was, get out. That's shocking. I'm not having that. Usual maximum delta time things. This time it's Colapinto. Investigate after session. Nothing will come of that unless he did something wrong. As in naughty wrong. What have we got in chat then? I'll get your prediction. Who's going to get poll then? Tell me your poll sitter. Who's going to get it? One surname. Or you can do your top 3 if you like. I'll read a few out between the session. As we wait for Q3 to get going. I am going to go and be really boring. And do you know, actually, no, I'm not. I'm not. George Russell looks like he's on for pole. He's been very good this weekend. He doesn't have the best of luck, though, does he? I'm going to go Leclerc for pole position. I think it will be Russell. But I'm going to go Leclerc because I want to go Leclerc. Why not? Could be Antonelli. He's not far off. Yeah, it does happen, doesn't it? I'm going to go Leclerc just because I want to go with a Ferrari today. But yeah, it probably will be Russell or Antonelli. I hope we don't get a situation where we're all sort of excited by this potential really close battle. I mean, you look at Russell, he's half a tenth clear of Leclerc, he's 100th clear of Antonelli, he's 600th clear of Norris, who's 500th clear of Hamilton, who's 600th clear of Verstappen, who's 300th clear of Piastri, so it's really close in there. Very small gaps. I mean, Lawson's only 3.5 tenths off pole. And then Russell and Antonelli lock out the front row, as somebody said earlier, half a second clear of everybody else. So it's always possible, but I hope we don't. I hope we get some good stuff. Norris for Fudd. Rocket Raccoon says maybe Russell. Annette says Antonelli. Neelish has a hot take. Pascal says Leclerc, Russell, Hamilton. Fabric for pole says Golf Balls. Fabric. I'm not getting the joke. I'm sure it'll get explained. And Neelish says, this is Neelish's hot take, I miss those one season backmarker pay drivers. I miss those one race driver, paid driver, people-y folks, Marcus Finkelhock and all that. Yeah, no. I get what you mean. It would just turn up and either be surprisingly good or absolutely dreadful. Yeah, for a season. When you go back and it's, you know, you've got a 12 team grid, but then your championship is like 30 drivers. I'll stuff for pole. Says golf balls. There you go. I'm getting... I occasionally get this. There's like a weird symbol coming before some of the tweets. So when I hover over at golf balls, it says stuff for pole. When I come away, it's like an X and an A and then fabric for poles. So I don't know if it's trying to translate stuff to fabric. But going forward, he will be forever known, Fabric Van Dorn. There you go. Green flag, green light. We are go for Q3, the final part of qualified, of course, the top 10 shootout. Maybe it will be Fabric Van Dorn for pole position. We shall see. That could be auto-translate. It could be, actually, yeah, looking at it. Which is interesting because it's corrected Rocket Raccoon's maybe it's Russ to maybe Russ. So I don't know what's going on there, but YouTube doing YouTube things. It's nothing new, is it? Oh, is it translated stuff, Fud? Oh, okay. But it's translating... Again, it's translated maybe Russ to maybe Russ. So... very strange. Yeah. They've rolled out some interesting things over the years, and that's unnecessarily annoying. So, yeah, sorry, golf balls. There you go. Here we go, then. 11:50, cars are getting ready to come out. That's not the time, that's what's left on the clock. Norris heading out in the McLaren, so we'll keep an eye on tyres first. They look... I mean, they're slightly shiny there, but I think they're soft tyres, aren't they, on the McLaren? I think because of the wheel rims, it looked a little bit like a hard tyre, but it's not going to be a hard tyre. They're going to be saving them for tomorrow, for sure. So Piastri out on track as well. Verstappen was first out. So it's used soft tyres for Lawson. That's not a shock. He may have used an extra set to get through. But also, by the way, shout out to Liam Lawson for getting through. Yeah. So, Fud says, place au tour rapide. And probably only one of those even sounded remotely right. And it has translated to time for fast laps. So there you go. It has worked. Thank you, Fud. Now, the more you know. Now that makes sense. I thought you were all swearing at me with some dodgy graphic or something. But yeah, there we go. A weird symbol. It looks like at the moment Hulkenberg is on the used tyres as well. So yeah, Hulkenberg, Lawson. Yeah. Yeah. That is it. That'll be it, won't it? They're the only two outside the top teams that are in the top 10. So, yeah, there we go. Oh, I was still going to do. That's what I'm going to do. I was thinking, what was I going to do then? And I went quiet, but yeah. Let's have a swig of the old juice. Orange and mango, because it's still on offer at Tesco. It's always on offer. I assume nobody else buys it but me. Quick, get rid of it. Sean will buy it. Right, here we go. Who's getting the lap in first? It's going to be Max Verstappen down to turn 1. What can he do? Never rule out Max Verstappen, but I'm going to be honest. I'm probably going to rule out Max Verstappen for pole today. Not expecting it, but he wasn't a million miles away. He was closer at the end of the last session than I thought he was going to be. A 21.9 in the first sector is slower than his best time in the first sector this session so far, or this whole qualifying session so far. So not great, but not horrendous. And it's been beaten by Piastri immediately, but he's quicker than Norris by 0.07 of a second. So it's looking McLaren versus Verstappen at the minute. Yes, orange and mango. Rocket Raccoon. Verstappen, a little bit of traffic there, but Kimi Antonelli was well out of the way on the inside, and it's quite a wide line on the exit of 10 into 11 anyway, so he's throwing it through. Got a yellow flag out there. It's Charles Leclerc. Oh, of course it's Charles bloody Leclerc. Where did I put him? Pole position. Is he going to get this in? Verstappen gets the lap in. Leclerc has stopped on track because Sean picked him for pole. Piastri gets his lap in just as the red flag comes out. Wow, that was close. I hope he hasn't crashed, and I hope it is... Well, no, I don't want him to crash. Oh, it's a big crash, actually. Yeah, medical car deployed. It's just like a constant kick in the nuts when you're a Ferrari and a Leclerc fan, isn't it? Just constantly getting kicked in the nuts. It is an odd place to crash, Martin. That's what I was trying to work out. It looks like he's coming. He's coming from. Oh yeah, it's a big shunt. Yeah. This might take a little while because that barrier. It might just be that he's. There we go. Right. Comes into turn 4. A little bit, oversteering, everything you want, and then, oof, that's a big shunt. Yeah. So we got a slide, corrected that, and then it went off in the other direction, and bang. Martin's saying counter steering the slide, and the car's then gone the way the steering wheel's pointing rather than oh, dearie me. Yeah, back end as well away. Oof. Yeah, there might be some barrier damage, but it might also just be the advertising hoarding that's making that look worse. But that is quite a shunt there. So we might have a little bit of a lengthy red flag. They have deployed the medical car, so that's set off the G sensors. Hopefully he's okay. He was walking away okay. That's the kind of accident I don't mind commentators saying I hope he's okay. Because that's a nasty accident. But, you know, when they gently rub a wheel against a wall and break a nail, I don't think we necessarily need to have the conversation, but there you go. He's okay, is Charles Leclerc, by the look of it. Extreme Gaming says Le Pen, yeah. It is all my fault, and I picked him for pole. He was fine till I said that. He was in the fight. I should have picked somebody else. It just... I don't believe in jinxes and things like that generally, but it does... When I pick Piastri or Verstappen or Antonelli or anybody else, there's never an issue. They're there and they get a good lap in or they get pole. Whenever I pick Leclerc for anything, it just always goes wrong, one way or another. So maybe we need to stop that. I need to go into a room and sort of just think about. I'm going to erase Charles Leclerc from my mind. He no longer exists. And then I'll be surprised at the end of a weekend when this driver I've never heard of wins a race. But that's going to be P10 for Charles Leclerc at best. He's gone in front on, but that's still quite a stop there. So everything's going to be given a good rattle, isn't it? So they'll have to check everything, Ferrari, if they remember to check everything. Still not over that. How many years ago was it in Monaco when they didn't bother to check it all? It'd be fine. Oh, it isn't. Okay, cool. Yeah. I sorry for going quiet on this. I don't know what to say. People have now used a set of tyres and not got a lap on them. That's a great point from Dave. Very good point from Dave. Yeah. Hulkenberg and Lawson will be fine. They went out and used tyres. So they would have gone out on softs the next run anyway. So that's okay. A fresh set, sorry. Piastri got his lap in, so did Verstappen. Piastri is fastest, by the way. Verstappen P2, a tenth and a half behind. So he would have gone for another, so they're fine. Antonelli hadn't started his flying lap, or at least hadn't got through the first sector on his flying lap, so they might be able to use them again. It's a bit tight to get 2 in, isn't it? It should be okay for 2 runs. Norris did the first 2 sectors. Hamilton did the first sector. Lawson, again, will be fine. Hadjar did the first sector. Russell didn't start a lap. So there's a... Yeah, Antonelli and Russell might be able to use those for a first run, then still go again. But yeah, interesting. One to keep an eye on in a bit. Extreme Gaming says, I don't know what's going on with Leclerc. I think he might have cursed him with that new contract he signed, and now every week is going to be one thing after another. Do you know what? I don't know if I said this last week. I think I sort of poked fun at it, but I don't really understand the timing of that contract, if I'm being quite frank. I I understand his love for Ferrari, and I understand he wants to be there and he wants to win titles with them and all of that. But he had a contract till, was it the end of 28 or the end of 29? It was one of the two, wasn't it? A long time on that contract. And he signed an extension, a small extension, but an extension anyway, in June 2026. That's the sort of contract. That announcement is the kind of thing I would have expected in like January, during the off season, where Ferrari have negotiated with him and they've sat down and want to extend. Not right now. So it just doesn't. It's such an odd extension. But whether it's Ferrari offering him a lot of money or whatever to stay, so that he doesn't get tempted by any kind of shuffling, if, for example, Verstappen does move and other seats open up somewhere else, I don't know. But I just, it's a nasty little crash, that. A nasty big crash. Yeah. It's an unusual place to crash. Yeah. Oh dear. I don't know. Where Ferrari are at the moment, the inconsistency, the pain he suffers with the strategy decisions, and I wouldn't be signing a contract extension with Ferrari right now. But he has, so that's his choice. And what I would say is, just because he signed an extension doesn't mean he can't leave at the end of the year. Contracts aren't irrelevant in Formula 1. Of course they're not, but it's quite easy to get out of a contract if you need to. So there'll be clauses and whatnot, so maybe that means nothing in the end, but just very strange. Very strange. Yeah, fair point, Golf Bosses. I think they're worried Piastri is going to Red Bull, then they don't want McLaren to come knocking, but if that happens and McLaren come knocking at the end of the year, they can do. It'll just cost them more to buy him out of that contract or whatever with Ferrari, won't it? So yeah, it's the same with a lot of sport, isn't it? Football, for example, a driver can sign a new contract in April. A footballer can sign a new contract for their team in April and then still leave in July during a summer window. Yeah, so just odd timing from his point of view, not from Ferrari's. It makes sense, but his point of view, I'm not sure why he did it, but here we are. We're not green yet. Ignore that. Sorry, press the wrong button. Yeah, that's a good. That's a very fair point for Extreme Gaming. Actually, says if he was smart, he'd have put a performance clause in the contract. That might be what the renegotiation was. It might be, I want to renegotiate. They've renegotiated. They've paid him a bit more or something, and he said, "Well, I want this clause," and they said, "Oh, we want another year on the end of it." And maybe that's what's happened. Something along those lines. I'm pure speculation, of course, but that might be what they've done. So it's just, as always, it's misery after he signs it. So, yeah. Last week he complained about his brakes, says Golf Balls. This week he's complaining about the steering. Yeah. Interesting response from Brembo on that one in the week. I'm not sure that was... I suppose protect your brand, but yeah. Leclerc seems to be the Mona Lacey, says Pascal. Feels like that. He's won more races than a Lacey, though. A Lacey only ever won one race, didn't he? Canada 91? Was that the year Mansell was waving to the crowd and switched his engine off? 95. Oh, no, it wasn't. It would have been Canada 95. What year was it that Mansell did that, then? I'm putting two things together. No, 95, you're right. Yeah. 2 minutes and 20 seconds till the restart. Thank you for the correction, chat. Yeah, I'm getting two incidents mixed up there. And it was 91 for Mansell, yeah. PK won, and it was 95 for Lacey. Yeah, there we go. We got there in the end. And the red flag is about to end. I'll leave the red flag on for now, and we'll go green when we get to 0 on the countdown for the second part of Q3. Q3 part 2. Another thing to point out here is that it knocks drivers out of the rhythm a little bit, doesn't it? So things like this. So worth bearing that in mind, but they all know what they're doing. except Ferrari and Leclerc, it seems. They're just rushing about around Lewis's car to get his tyres on, so he's not going out just... He's not in the queue, at least. So I can see a lot of used tyres in the pit lane, I think, unless they've been scrubbed up in the pit lane. But I think we're going to see a lot of used tyre runs initially, and then we'll get some fresh tyres for the final run. So I don't think this is going to be as anticlimactic as some qualifyings have been of late. Used tyres then onto fresh tyres could make this really interesting. So I got a minute to go. It's the longest 2 minutes and 20 seconds for a while here. As Lewis does go straight. He has got scrub tyres on as well. Oh, not scrub, but used tyres on. We don't hear the word scrubbed enough in F1 anymore. Scrub tyres, you know. Norris's tyres will be very second-hand since he completed 90% of a hot lap on them. I think the McLaren's still in the pits, and Verstappen as well. In the garage, sorry. So they might not bother with a first run, just go on a second run on a fresh set. We'll see. We'll see. Martin Brundle theorising they might do racing pit stops to change tyres because it's going to be so. We've got 8.5 minutes left on the clock. Piastri doesn't have to rush out, neither does Verstappen. That's another good point to make there. But here we go then for Q3, part 2. We're green again. Off we go. I said it last week. I'll say it against this golf balls. Leclerc, look at me. I am the Stroll now. That's harsh. That's harsh. I'm not having it. They're talking... Crofty's not Crofty. No Crofty this weekend. We've got Harry Benjamin. Which is a relief in many ways. Charlotte going to be Seb 2.0 at Ferrari. Oh, yeah, but Seb had some weird moments. The head loss in Baku. I'll never... A lot of people gave him a lot of stick for the crash in Germany that year. I won't, because those conditions were tricky. We saw cars off all over the place in that one. It's still a mistake, though. The spin at Monza one year, where he just sort of... Did he ever spin at Coaster as well? A similar one where they're sort of tagging wheels, but then his car spins. Because, yeah, just some weird moments for him. But it never really worked, which was a shame, because I thought Seb was the natural successor there at Ferrari. Yeah. Gutted that never worked out how it could have done. Yeah. I'd agree with that. He never really bounced back from it. Yeah. Jamie says Seb fought with Prime Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes and gave them a good fight in 2017 and was sensational at 15. 2015, the one that stands out for me is the win in Malaysia. Height of Mercedes domination. No one had any chance of fighting them on pure pace, and he did it. That's a race that really stands out for me for Seb at Ferrari. One of his best, I would say. Right at the start, Malaysia. Fantastic drive. Black and white flag for George Russell driving unnecessarily slow. I'm guessing this is a pit exit thing then. Must be. Making space and being too slow, and they're getting a slap on the wrist for it. Right then, so used tyres for Russell, Antonelli, Hamilton, Lawson, Hadjar and Hulkenberg. Lawson and Hulkenberg sort of don't count because they would have been used anyway, so they've still got to go out on a fresh set. So these are the ones that didn't get their lap in pretty much, aren't they? Minus Charles Leclerc on those first runs. But again, you know, you look at Russell's on I'd say 21.9 for Russell. He hadn't started a hot lap at that point, or at least hadn't he hadn't started a hot lap, so he's probably got more life in his tyres than say Norris, but Norris has just done a 30.3 in the middle sector, purple, so he's still got some life in those despite the fact he was at turn 13 apparently when the red came out. Do you know who Fudd says, Harry Benjamin on camera earlier was weird. He doesn't look like how he sounds, and I can't not see him as having the Giga Chad beard. Do you know who Harry Benjamin reminds me of voice-wise? I'll let you have a guess. An old favourite, let's say. 115.1 for Russell. He's gone fastest. That was a hot lap on a used set of tyres. Hamilton only goes 6th on a 15.7. So we'll see. Norris, what does he do? I'm watching Norris. He didn't get his lap completed, did he? Look, to me, listening to him, Harry Benjamin has a little bit of the Dan about him, as in Racing Reviews Dan. Alex Jakes as well. There's just something in the tone. He sounds a little bit like Dan to me. But then I'm headphones and I used to listen to a lot of Dan. Too much Dan. It was a lot. I'm joking. That's just a little bit in there. It's not an obvious thing, but it's just something I pick up on. Dan always sounded like he was smiling when he was talking because he often was. That's how Harry Benjamin sounds to me. So maybe it's just me. Probably is just me. But yeah, I like Harry Benjamin. So much so he gets his full name all the time. Harry Benjamin. Crofty gets Crofty. On a separate note, I do miss Dan. I don't think he'd be watching, but he's got a life now. Bless him. I hope all's good with him and he's doing well. Yeah, he's one I miss a lot. Anyway, 3.5 minutes to go in Q3 in Barcelona. The Barcelona-Catalunya Grand Prix qualifying. George Russell on those used tyres at a 15.1. But again, hadn't started a hot lap on him, and I do think that matters. Leclerc isn't going to go again, is he? Hamilton 15.7. So waiting on Norris, didn't finish that lap, despite being purple in middle sector, I think it was in that lap. So here we go then. The top 10 shootout comes to a head with 3 minutes to go. Who's it going to be on pole? It ain't going to be Leclerc, so I was wrong on that one, wasn't I? Straight away. In fact, it must have taken about a minute for that to be wrong. Something like that. What we got? So, I'm just going to wait for everyone to come out on their tyres. But Russell, Piastri, Verstappen, Antonelli, definitely on new tyres. Lawson. It says Lawson and Hulkenberg are still on used tyres, but that... Maybe they are then, I don't know. Yeah, 3 laps on those tyres, which is somewhat surprising. Hadjar is just leaving the pits now, I'm guessing, on fresh. Yes, he's fresh tyres. Hamilton's look fresh as well. Norris on fresh tyres, so there we go. So the only ones on used tyres are still Lawson and Hulkenberg, but I suppose actually, yeah, no. Yeah, 2 sets to get out of Q1, 2 sets to get out of Q2. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, Hulkenberg only used 1, didn't he? Bear with. No, Hulkenberg used 2 and then 2 again. Lawson only used 1, so 2, 2. Yeah, 1, 2, 2. Yeah, so yeah, maybe Lawson used a set in practice or something we've missed somewhere. Right, Russell, Antonelli, sorry, on a lap of Tony Crofty, Ron Mercedes, even though it had Antonelli written all over the screen. See what he can do for Kimi. 21.9 to beat in the first sector, 9.43 to be specific, and he does go quicker at 21.879. 64 thousandths, if you want me to put it that way. Because the final minute mark. Everyone's going to get the laps in, I would assume. I can't see anyone missing out. We've still got a minute to go, so it should be okay. I'll keep an eye on the line just in case, but we should be okay. Hamilton's the last one, and he's just coming through turn 10 now, so plenty of time. Russell's gone purple in the first sector, but Antonelli's gone purple in the middle sector. It's 21.849 for Russell. Ever so slightly quicker than his teammates. So watching his middle sector for George. Here we got 30.2 to beat. He does a 30.1. George Russell is on for pole here. I think I'm looking at other sector times from others. Hulkenberg's not in the mix, is he? Norris isn't going to do it by the look of it. So Anthony goes fastest for now, but I think George is going to have him here. 14.9 from Antonelli. But George Russell through the final corner. I'm saying pole position. If it jinxes him, I'm sorry. It doesn't. It does a 46 and goes 0.3 quicker than his team. That's a hell of a lap. Here comes Lando Norris. I don't think He's in this. He goes third on a 15 flat. We're waiting for Piastri now. Verstappen's just got purple in the first sector. You wait. That's the checkered flag as well. So these are the final laps we're going to get. Verstappen only half a tenth down in the middle sector and was up marginally by about half a tenth in the first sector. So this is going to be Max is in this at this stage, but has he taken too much out of his tyres? Hamilton not improving. Piastri goes fourth on a 15 flat as well. So only 900ths off his teammate. Here comes Max Verstappen, only fourth on a 1:15.0, just behind Norris. So lost quite a bit of time in the final sector, so maybe too much life out of his tyres in that first sector. Isack Hadjar pretty much matched half a tenth of his teammate in fifth place. Here goes Hamilton. He's on the front row. That's made it interesting tomorrow. He is 600ths off pole position in the end, Lewis Hamilton, but it is George Russell who takes pole for the 2026 Barcelona-Catalunya Grand Prix by 600ths of a second over Lewis Hamilton. Kimi Antonelli third, Lando Norris fourth, and Max Verstappen P5. We'll go through the order properly in just a moment, but that is a pole for George Russell. I think the headline there, yes, Lewis Hamilton very close as well, but 3/10 between the Mercedes. Given the run that Antonelli's on, that gap is a surprise. Not necessarily that Russell's on pole, but the gap is a surprise. I thought Verstappen, I was just looking at Verstappen's sector. Yeah, I think maybe the final, maybe took too much life out of his tyres in the early part of the lap, Max, because he was well off come the end of it, but he was in the mix prior to that. But George on pole. I'm sure everyone's thrilled with that. And Lewis Hamilton on the front row. Maybe not the fast starting Ferrari of earlier in the season, but maybe he could be a threat down to turn one. Don't forget, quite a drag down to turn one as well here. So we could easily be Russell, Hamilton, and Antonelli side by side into turn one, and Norris leading by the end of the lap. Who knows? We shall see. I'll take your comments in a minute. Let me just get a quick mouthful of juice. Sounds gross. Then I'll run through the order, and then we will do a bit of Q&A before we wrap up for today. So give me, let's say, 16 seconds today. You can count them. I'm back. Right. Just easier than glugging that all over myself. So, George Russell is on pole position for the, I'm going to say it, first ever Barcelona-Catalunya Grand Prix at a track we all know very well, with a 1:14.679. He was just ahead of Lewis Hamilton in the end, who nearly pipped it right at the death there. 0.064 off, so very close between those two. Kimi Antonelli, third place in the second Mercedes, 3/10 off his teammate, 2.5 off Lewis Hamilton. So a really interesting run down to turn one tomorrow with those three. Lando Norris fourth, 3/1000 off Kimi Antonelli, but watch out for McLaren tomorrow. I've said this a lot in the stream today. Historically, recent years, McLaren have been very good at tyre management. This is going to be a high deg race tomorrow, with already talk of as many as 3 pit stops going to be needed. So if McLaren are good on their tyres still and can stretch those out to a 2-stopper, he could be a threat from P4 tomorrow. But it's a big ask to beat Russell, Hamilton and Antonelli, but we'll see what happens. Max Verstappen, P5. I think maybe took too much life out of the tyres in the final part of the lap, but was in the mix for pole in the first 2 sectors at least. Isack Hadjar, 0.5 off his teammates, so the Red Bulls splitting there, the 2 McLarens. Wasn't expecting that this weekend. I thought McLaren would be best of the rest, if you like, behind Mercedes and Ferrari, or at least a bit more in the mix than they were come the end. Piastri in P7. Liam Lawson, good qualifying again, into P8 for him. And Nico Hulkenberg P9. They only had used tyres available in Q3. They were never realistically going to threaten those ahead, but they're there. They're in the points paying positions at the start tomorrow at least. Charles Leclerc, P10, because he crashed at P4, correcting a slide, and then the car shot off into the wall. Quite a nasty accident, actually. It was all okay. Quite a heavy impact. Medical car deployed, but he was okay. Got out of the car by himself, so hopefully all good there. But P10, that's a lot of work to do tomorrow. Arvid Lindblad, P11. pretty good position, actually. I know his teammate's P8, but I don't think that's bad at all in that Racing Bulls with Gabriel Bortoleto in 12th. So good show for Racing Bulls and Audi. Colapinto, 13th. He's just been cleared, by the way, for failing to follow the race director's instructions regarding maximum delta time. So he will keep P13. He was always going to keep P13. Pierre Gasly, 14th. Not far off his teammate, about a 10th between the two of them, or less than. So not awful there. Bearman 15th, Sainz 16th. Then we've got Esteban Ocon in 17th place. Alex Albon in the second Williams, it was 18th. Perez 19th, Bottas 20th, Stroll 21st, and Fernando Alonso 22nd. The two headlines there: Stroll out qualifies Alonso, but we picked up on it at the end of the first session. The Aston Martin of Lance Stroll ahead of Fernando Alonso. So the closest Aston Martin to the slowest Cadillac was over a second behind. That is pretty rough on a track that will expose a bad car. We knew the Aston was bad, but it's a second slower than a brand spanking new team. That is pretty embarrassing. So I can understand why the Alonso rumours have started flying around about retirement and moving back to Alpine, quite frankly. But yeah, great. The positive of that is well done to Cadillac, well done to Perez as well, who's on quite a run in that car. So that is your grid for tomorrow. If you are disappearing, we'll stay live for a bit longer, but if you are disappearing, please do drop a like on the stream and subscribe if you are new. I'll be live with the race reaction tomorrow, and then of course we'll have the preview for Austria in a couple of weeks, the qualifying watch along, the race reaction as well. I've got Stuart with me tomorrow. He's feeling better, so he's going to join me. That's Chamber for the race reaction tomorrow. So looking forward to that. So likes and subs, greatly appreciated. Please do get your comments in as well and your questions, and we'll answer some of those, and we'll do some predictions in a few minutes as well. So yeah, I think we're set up for a nice race there. I think we are. And again, not a massively 2x2 grid, which is somewhat surprising for Spain, but it's not always a 2x2 grid. It just tends to put people in the order they should be in, doesn't it? So not a lot. I think that's a really good rundown to turn one tomorrow. That's going to be fun. Norris and Verstappen, front row seats. They'll enjoy that, I'm sure. Annette says Charles needs a break. We'll see where Gasly is after Stewart's have a look overnight. Maybe he'll be P3, says Anthony. Good point. Always appreciate these sessions. Love you, Sean. Be well. I'll see you tomorrow. No worries, mate. Thank you, Surprises. No. Thank you for popping along, mate. And we'll catch you tomorrow, hopefully with some good questions. Hey, Kaori. Didn't spot you pop in early. Says, good job, George and Lewis. So, yep. Don't you want to be front row to start here because of the long run to the first corner? You don't want to be front row, says Anthony. Yeah, it's not quite Mexico levels, although that's high altitude, so not as effective. But yeah, you've got P3 is not a bad place to start in Barcelona. It's going to be fun. I'll say that. I hope it's going to be fun because Barcelona can be a little bit meh. But if we've got lots of pit stops, then maybe that'll make it more interesting anyway. Leclerc finished Q3 first, as in his Q3 finished before anyone else, says Fudd. I like that's the positive spin on it. I actually want Lewis to win the race, says CPB. I can't believe I'm rooting for Lewis Hamilton. Mercedes starts are no longer shit, says Neelish. Yeah, there's that, but also the Ferrari doesn't have the advantage it had at the start of the season. So it's still going to be a fun run. I really am looking forward to that now tomorrow. Had it been the two Mercedes running down to turn one, actually no, because I think they'd just race it out, wouldn't it? It would be Canada style, but yeah. I don't know. I think just slotting a car in between them makes that infinitely more interesting to me. Whatever that car is. It doesn't have to be a Ferrari, but yeah. Leclerc will be my favourite Formula E driver, says Nappy Pants. Harsh. Audi may be thinking best we can be is 8th. Why damage a new set, says Fudge. Yeah. I can't remember who had the new set. I think it was actually Lawson who had the new set in the end. Because Hulkenberg has run 6 sets of tyres in this session. 2 new, a used, a new, and then 2 used. Lawson ran 3 new as well and 2 used. So one of those has got a nice new set somewhere, I'm sure. So, yeah, that once it's a good point. There's not a lot of point burning through tyres if you're going to be 8th or 9th anyway, because Leclerc's crashed. So, too bad the Mercedes engine wasn't better, says no one, says Anthony. Yeah, that's a read into. I know it's the measurement was the ICE, wasn't it? The internal combustion engine. And RBPT, Red Bull Powertrains, were deemed to have the best one. So, but just because you have the best ICE doesn't mean you have the best power unit. Mercedes could still have the best power unit because their battery management or their battery energy and all that, the electrical energy might be better utilized or whatever. That element of it might be better than the Red Bull engine, but their ICE is the best according to the FIA. Now, Red Bull say that's bollocks, basically, and they've asked for that to be checked again, which I feel like they would have checked it by now. But yeah, it's all a bit. It's an interesting one. I don't think anybody came into this season thinking that Red Bull would have the best engine. But if that's Mercedes with the second best power or second best ICE, as I said on on Wednesday, given their domination, good lord, are we in trouble? The teams all agreed to only measure the ICE against an FIA proposal to measure the overall power unit. Yep. Is it the most powerful or more reliable, says Jamie? Well, look, I'll tell you how I'll answer that one for you. Red Bull have the best internal combustion engine. If I was to pick the engine I want in the back of my car this season, or the power unit, it's a Mercedes one. It is not a Red Bull one. So, McLaren strategy will be their Achilles heel in the races, Anthony. It's possible. Well, it depends. I feel like I've said this like 18 times in this stream, so apologies if you've been here for the whole thing and you're hearing it again. But I do think McLaren are one to watch for tomorrow. I do, with their historical advantage, if you like, it be able to manage their tyres. If we're borderline 3 stops tomorrow, a team that can make a 2-stopper work and still be quick, which McLaren could in theory, are going to be a threat. So it could go either way on that one. Red Raven, hey Red Raven, says hello folks, sorry for being late. Good to see Lawson beating Lindblad, good for his confidence. I think Lawson's having a decent season actually. I don't think but it's good to see him in the top 8, to be honest. Again, great weekend for them last time out in Monaco, so building on that nicely. Here's 19 times that McLaren are a threat, says Jamie. Yeah, McLaren on strategy, if they get it right. They have to get it right, of course. They might burn through their tyres tomorrow just as much as everybody else. They might struggle, but we'll find out in 24 hours. We'll know, won't we? We'll be doing the reaction at this point tomorrow, so we'll know. But yeah, tomorrow I think we're in for a good Grand Prix tomorrow, if you like strategy and runs to turn 1. If you don't, it'll suck. If the PU is 50% ICE, why do they struggle to keep them cool, says Golf Balls. Since it's normally only the front row that wins here, what do you think of Lewis's chances, says Stewie? Oh, I had the long run pace yesterday. From what I read just for the stream, Mercedes are strongest. That will surprise nobody, I'd imagine. I think Ferrari were behind McLaren. I might be wrong. This was 2 hours ago that I read this, so I can't remember quite. I haven't quite slept since then, but yeah, Mercedes were very strong. So if Russell gets away in front, I think he's probably looking good for the win. Unless Kimi comes in and starts getting involved. But I think first thing for Hamilton is survive the run to turn 1. If Ferrari can maybe, they're good in the corners, we know that. If they can maybe manage their tyres as well nicely, he might be able to bring himself into play with a 2-stopper. But I would just like to see, I like strategy, but I'd like it to just be one of those races where they've got to drive flat out because everyone's driving flat out. If that makes, thinking Verstappen, Hamilton in Hungary or even I think they did in Spain one year, didn't they? That would be that kind of race, but I can't see it because tyre day is going to be so high. We're going to hear a lot of tyre management. Lap times might come down because they're looking after tyre. And I know some people hate that, but it's part of the sport. So yeah, we're watching. So I'm sort of half watching Russell's pole lap while trying to make a point, but I want to hear what is like at the end of the straight on the run to turn 10, unless the camera conveniently glitches again. We'll soon find out. I'm listening. Yeah, lift and coast isn't I mean, it's qualifying, so it wouldn't be anyway. They seem to have ironed that out now, so we'll see tomorrow. But God, am I pleased they made the qualifying tweaks at least. My word, was that diabolical to watch. Someone on a hot lap, supposed to be setting the fastest lap they can, and they're 2/3 of the way down a straight, and the engine's dying, basically. I'm exaggerating. It's not an engine, it's battery. I know, but you get my point. Well, Neelish just put predictions. Should we do some predictions then? Get your predictions in. What's your podium for tomorrow based on what we've got there? Russell, Hamilton, Antonelli, Norris, Verstappen, top 5. Front row tends to win here, as we've already said. It is historically important to be on the front row, but that run to turn 1 is going to be interesting. Antonelli with a slipstream from Hamilton and Russell if he wants to take it, which I'm sure he was. He could quite easily be in the mix come turn 1. I've just got this feeling we're going to be 3 wide. And one of them will be rejoining via the escape road at turn 2. That's my prediction for the start. But yeah, get your top 3 in. I'll read a few out, do some shout-outs as well. Shout-outs or shout-outs. And then we'll see where we're at. Do you have a sleep, Sean? Says Jamie. Yeah, not enough though. Not enough. You get 4 hours a night if I'm lucky. Hillbilly Reefer says, can't wait for the ADU upgrade for the Scuderia. I really believe it's a true fight for the championship. They're quite a way off as well, aren't they? Okay, was it 6 to 8% or something, or 4 to 6%? I know Honda are about 3 million % off, but that's a massive exaggeration, of course. But I know that Ferrari were further off than I thought. So I'm going to go tomorrow. I'm going to go... Do you know what? I'm going to just assume the season continues as it has been, with George Russell getting 0 look and Kimi Antonelli smashing it. I'm going to go Antonelli, Hamilton, Russell. I'm going to flip the Mercedes. I'd like to see Hamilton get his first win for, well, since Silverstone, won't it be now? It's been a while. And his first for Ferrari, his first proper win. The sprints don't count. But I've just... Antonelli, 3 wide into turn 1. It will be interesting to see. Sorry, I'll get to your prediction in a second. But it will be interesting to see how Antonelli handles this, because he's got a very comfortable lead. The 2 closest to him in the standings are ahead of him. Does he take it a little bit easier because he knows that he can afford to finish third tomorrow and not have too much of a dent in his championship lead, or does he still go for it like he was in Canada? It'll be interesting to see what he like. He's still only 19, so just really and only his second season, so intrigued to see how he handles that, whether he changes his approach at all, or whether he's still going to be gung-ho. I hope it's the latter. So, as I said, I'll read Neelish triggered this. I'll say Neelish's prediction first. Said, prediction, Kimi takes the win after Hamilton gets in George's way at turn 1 and can't overtake during the race. I think that's possible. I do think that's possible. Hamilton, Verstappen, Norris, the Mercs 2016 themselves, says Stewie. Good lord. Another one from Neil says McLaren don't really have a tyre advantage like they used to. We'll see. Yeah, we'll find out tomorrow. We'll know for sure, won't we, on this kind of track in these conditions. Leclerc, Colapinto, Alonso for Jamie. Anthony, Verstappen, Antonelli, Hamilton. King George Russell, Kimi, and Sir Lewis Hamilton says Kaori. Hamilton, Antonelli, Verstappen says Yori. Hamilton, Russell, Verstappen, and Hulkenberg in the points for Pascal. Ferrari and Audi were 4 to 6%. Honda was 6 to 8. There we go. I knew there was a 6 to 8 in there somewhere. Thanks, Neelish. Appreciate that. Lewis. Yeah, Lewis did win Spa 2024, but crossing the line to win. Yeah. George got thrown out. Was it Plankware for George? Yeah, it would have been won at Spa that year. That was a weird year. No risk, full push, says Anthony. Kimi is too young to take it easy. No risk, full push. Lewis will win at some point this year, even if it won't be working out tomorrow. I can imagine that it will get likelier the more the year progresses. And says Max. Yeah, no, Ferrari certainly have a car that can win. It's just delivering it on race day, but that feels like it's been the case with Ferrari for quite a while now. And that says, I don't think Antonelli can take it easy. And Jamie says, I like how you said my prediction, and we're just accepting it as if it's not the most diabolical top 3 anyone could pick. Yeah, but, I'm used to you, Jamie. I know, but I'd be quite happy with that as a top 3. Anthony actually says that Alonso's engine when going over the line in Q2 sounded awful. Yeah, it was fuel level. Yeah, I remember now. Plankwell was Cota, wasn't it? Because of the sprint. Yeah. Yeah, it was the fuel thing. Underweight on fuel or fuel. Yeah. I'm with you now. These seasons all merge into one. When you're doing the old YouTubes, I've noticed that over the years, it all merges into one season. It's quite weird. Jacques Villeneuve, there, because why not? I'm going to mute him. There we go. Any questions, comments, anything you want me to talk about quickly, and then we'll wrap up in a few minutes, and we'll call it for today. Don't forget, live tomorrow, very quickly after the race, with Stuart for a good couple of hours of post-race waffle. So lots to talk about. So if there's anything that we don't cover today, we can cover it tomorrow. I'll be interested to see what his thoughts are on the Gasly reinstatement, actually. Oscar says, who are you rooting for this season? Antonelli, Verstappen as always, Leclerc as always, but that was a kick in the nuts again today. Honestly, though, I would like a new world champion. That would be nice. So even though Verstappen, yeah, it would be nice if, Antonelli or even Russell could win it, or a Piastri maybe. I don't feel like it's McLaren's year, but we'll see. But yeah, no, my usual drivers, really. Like I say, Antonelli, Verstappen. Wouldn't mind Hadjar doing really well. Further down the field, I want to see Lindblad and Lawson do well. Colapinto and Gasly, Bearman and Ocon. Lots. I've not, as I've always said, I've never really latched onto a driver like I did Michael Schumacher. So I have a few favourites. It means that when Leclerc crashes out, I can support somebody else, and doesn't feel too bad. Helps me get through Sundays, to be honest, Oscar. Who gets best of the rest? Lindblad, Lawson, or Hulk? Is that tomorrow? Lawson, not just because he's there. Tough to overtake. Yeah, I'll say Lawson. I'd like Hulkenberg, but yeah, I'll go Lawson. I guess, a question for you. Where do you think Leclerc can recover to tomorrow? Do you think he's looking at trying to pick off Piastri or one of those, a Norris, a Verstappen, a Hadjar, Piastri, and just try to be top 7? Or do you think he can still get himself up to P4, let's say, or 5, something like that? Yeah. His minimum's got to be picking off whichever one's at the back out of the McLarens and the Red Bulls, surely. But the car looks good this weekend. They've got the updates, and I mean that's assuming, of course, he starts P10. If things have taken too much of a rattle, a wobble in that car, and he needs power unit, gearbox, or anything like that, then gearbox would be okay, wouldn't he? We don't do that the same way as we used to, so it could be tries to nick a point. But if he starts there, I think he should be in the fight with Norris, Verstappen, Hadjar, and Piastri. But hey, if he gets off the line and beats Hulkenberg and Lawson straight away, maybe could be better. Is it Johannes or Johans says that Leclerc is under pressure? I generally agree, but he has just signed a new contract, so he's probably got a bit of a grace period just yet. But personally under pressure, yeah, he'll want to recover from that after 2 suboptimal crashes, let's say. Leclerc P5 tomorrow if he doesn't crash, says Stewie. Leclerc P7 because Ferrari. Will Ferrari, says Anthony. Yeah. Leclerc is looking for a top 5, says Hillbilly Reefer. Yeah. Leclerc will get P6, question mark, says Jamie. Yeah, I don't think we're looking podiums or wins unless something happens. But hey, things can happen. We saw it in Monaco. Maybe we'll get another 5-second penalty Grand Prix. Maybe. Oh, so bloody messy. I just felt so stupid watching that race. How? One last thing on Monaco then. We'll talk to Stuart tomorrow, see what he says. But how the FIA could see 60.1, 60.1, 60.1, 60.1 and not think, hang on, something's wrong here. Maybe they did, and maybe there's nothing they could do in the race, but it just to me, you think, yeah. Again, maybe they did spot it, but there is nothing they could do about it. But yeah, very, very messy and silly. Anthony says Pierre Gasly will get P3 next Thursday. Yeah, wherever Gasly finishes, ignore that. Yeah. What's the safety car rate around here, says Stewie? Hang on. Do you know what? This is why I keep hold of a preview scripts. Let's have a look. I think it's 6 of the last 10, or was that Monaco? Let me have a look. So safety cars. That's tyre talk time. Weather. So, again, as we saw last year, safety cars can play a big part in strategy, and given it's not usually the easiest track to pass on, teams will likely try to take advantage of any if they crop up. That was edited out because it was a moronic comment. And we've had 6 full or virtual safety car interventions in the last 10 races around the circuit. There we go. Yeah, 6 in the last 10, and that's virtual or full. There we go. So since 2016-ish. We've also only had 3 winners since 2016. Verstappen, Hamilton, and Piastri. But then prior to that, I think somebody put in the comments prior to that, I think we'd had 10 races and 10 different winners in Spain, or it was something like that. Let's have a look. I know this isn't the Spanish Grand Prix anymore. It's the Barcelona. No, not Spanish to English. Spanish. Come on, you should know better than this, Google. I thought you're supposed to be clever. Yeah, well, yeah, so we had right. Bloody hell. So we had Alonso, Massa, Raikkonen, Button, Webber, Vettel, Maldonado, Alonso. Yes, it was something like that, yeah. It was quite a stint there of different winners, Hamilton and Rosberg then. So from it'd be a lot. So Massa in 2007 then. Massa, Raikkonen, Button, Webber, Vettel, Maldonado, Alonso, Hamilton, Rosberg was 9 different winners. Verstappen made it 10, and then we had 3 different winners in 10 years, basically. So there you go. The more you know, the more you know. So yeah, 6 out of 10, 60%, but obviously that's not quite how it works with. That's the rate, not the chance. That's the important distinction to make there. But you all know that. You're all way cleverer than me and most people. So ice cream or cake, says Jamie. Yes, I'll have that with the whiskey or beer from last week. Whiskey and beer from last week. So yeah, I was quite surprised by the Monaco number of safety cars. It wasn't as high as I thought it was going to be. Higher than most, if not all, tracks. But yeah, it's a little bit higher than I thought for Barcelona for sure. 6 out of 10. But yeah, of all the tracks coming in back in the next 5 years, what's your favourite? Mine's Portimao, says Sad Mariners fan. Yeah, Istanbul Park for me, probably. Sepang will trump all of those when it eventually does come back. I'm adamant it will one day. One day. We might need another pandemic to get it, but either way, Sepang, yes, please. So yeah, no, I would, Istanbul Park. I do love that track, but I do like Portimao as well. Definitely. Big fan of Portimao. Very happy to see it back. Why didn't they just call this the Spanish Grand Prix and the Madrid the European Grand Prix? I don't know, Stewie. I mean, this is going into rotation now. This isn't back until 2028, so I suppose. But this could have been the European Grand Prix. That's usually the default, isn't it? But maybe things have changed as we look at is that a Charles Leclerc advert? 8 sleep. Well, that looks like exercise. Oh. No. Golf balls, thank you very much, mate, for your super chat. Says Monaco was amazing. 21 on track passes by turn 1. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate the super chat and your membership support as well. Thank you again. And ice cream, Jamie. How is that even a question? Says Annette. Oh, ice cream cake, Annette. It's a thing. Apparently. Any more comments, or we're going to wrap up for today. So Johanna says but Barcelona safety car about 60%. I don't think teams put their bet on it. That's why I removed that live for the previews. Like that makes no sense, Sean, of course. And Extreme Gaming says, so are we in for a 2 or maybe even 3 stop race tomorrow? Again, Deg is expected to be high. It is going to be hot. It's going to be sunny. The track's very demanding on the tyres anyway, which is why it's surprising they've gone a step softer this year, but it's certainly making it very interesting this weekend thus far. But it's at least a 2-stop, but there is talk that some are going to be pushed onto a 3-stopper. What we don't want, to be clear, is a bunch of safety cars and drivers just making the stops with the safety cars, and then it's a 3-stopper, but not really a 3-stopper, or a red flag or something. So yeah, certainly a 2. Anybody that makes a 1-stopper work tomorrow is a hero. Remember I said that. And yeah, so I think we're going to see some on 3, and it's going to come down to who can stretch a 2 without losing too much time. Because Martin Brundle will make the point in commentary tomorrow. There will come a point where you're driving slowly to manage your tyres, and it's actually quicker, and you're going to cost yourself less time pitting and get a set of tyres on, because you need to be on the right tyres at the right time and all of that business. So definitely 2. Some will get pushed onto a 3. I don't think we'll see many more than that. Max did 4 last year. That was because of a safety car. So yeah. Will they touch the mediums, says Jamie? Well, one of the reasons Pirelli went with the softer compounds this weekend was to encourage hard compound strategies, because Max was the only one to use the hards last year, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that was because he ran out of tyres, basically. So I think they will use the medium. Most of them save 2 sets of the hard, so it could be a hard, soft, hard, or a soft, hard, hard, or a hard, hard, soft, or whatever they want to do. But Max used a set of hards yesterday, so he might have to use the mediums. So my prediction for tomorrow, we see Russell and Antonelli start on the mediums, and I've just got a sneaking suspicion Hamilton might go for the softs in the first stint. That might be a bit bold, but that's my tyre talk prediction for tomorrow. Musma at the front. MSM. We'll see. I don't know if the mediums are bad, Neelish. Again, I missed everything yesterday for family stuff, so... but yeah, Johannes says top 10 will start on mediums. Possibly, yeah. I haven't got all the... Pirelli won't release their tyre who's got what left until tomorrow morning, so I can't tell you that, unfortunately. But that's one to keep an eye out on social media. Any more? Or are we done for today? If not, that's fine. You know, I'm not going anywhere. I've got my shopping coming at 5, so, you know, leave that to the other half to put away. They get moaned at. Why did you leave me to put the shopping away? Because I was busy. Mediums look like the preferred tyre, says Kaori. So that's so yeah, if mediums are preferred tyre, I think Johannes might be right. Then maybe everyone starts on mediums. I'm just thinking somebody could, maybe Leclerc, it's worth a go on a softs. Get clear of Lawson and Hulkenberg immediately, but then you're locking yourself into a 3-stop strategy, probably, aren't you? That's the trouble. We could do 2 hards, yeah, maybe. It's really going to be interesting tomorrow. Really interesting with the high deg. So I'm glad that it's gone. No, there it is. Welcome to 40. I'm glad that that Pirelli have taken this a step softer, because it makes it more interesting than sitting there going, it's going to be a 2-stopper, and then you can probably pick the laps out as well. What time am I live tomorrow? Good question, Golf Balls, assuming no red flags. So last year's race was 1 hour and 32. I think it'll be slightly longer this year with a bit more time management, so that's 1:40, let's say. 1 hour and 40 minutes. Starts at 2, so that's 3:40. So about 4-ish. 4 p.m. UK time-ish. It might be just after that. It just depends how quickly I can get everything sorted, because I have the thumbnail to do and bits like that. But sometimes there's a safety car that allows me to do that, so it's not so bad. But yeah, 4-ish, between 4 and half 4. There you go. But yeah, it won't be any later than that, I wouldn't have thought. So just so you know. Again, assuming no red flags, it could be later. Very quickly, I'm going to read a few more comments, and then we are going to wrap up. So Charles on softs is Anthony. Hamilton was second fastest on the softs long run, says Johannes. Good information for tomorrow to jot down and keep an eye on. Killjoy, hey mate, says, I'm not sure I want to be in chat with a bunch of men talking about hard or soft. Not the first time here, is it? Neelish says Astons will go on softs probably. Not a bad idea. Anthony said Lindblad on softs and McLaren on intermediates. Still can't get over that decision. That was absolutely bizarre. But yeah, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you very much for tuning in for this one. Please do, as always, drop a like on the stream. That'd be greatly appreciated. It's free to do and really helps the channel in the algorithm, as does subscribing. So please do, or that's free as well. It doesn't really help the channel, but it certainly makes me feel better, and it does it gives things a little boost, I suppose. So please do subscribe so you don't miss anything that's coming up. We've got race reaction tomorrow with the man himself, Chamber. He will be here. He's feeling better, so glad to hear. He'll be back tomorrow with me for the race reaction. Then, of course, there'll be the preview for Austria in a couple of weeks' time, and the qualifying watch along and race reaction. I should be in a position in the future to do more, so that's good. But yeah, we'll see how we go. Likes and subs appreciated, like I say, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the race, and I'll see you shortly after it tomorrow. I think we're going to get a good one, so I am looking forward to that. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Formula Sean, and until next time, goodbye.